10 brothers in Bitcoin, and welcome back to the channel. This topic of inflation is like a never ending story, and I get it. When you go to the grocery store to purchase groceries, you're filling it at the register. You go to the gas station to fill up, you're filling it at the gas pump. The entire world, right? And I'm going to walk you through some staggering numbers, and I mean, absolutely astounding. And so you want to be sure that you watch this all the way to the end. I'm going to be walking through and I'm going to be showing you some numbers. And so, of course, let's kick this off by looking at some Bitcoin price action. Last time that we were together, we spoke about Bitcoin consolidation and the break of this long consolidation phase, right? So we had the break, we got follow through, we got the huge volume that came in, and then from this day, there was here an indecision bar, and then we have this hammer, right? Brought in some really good volume here. Most people probably thought this was the bar that was going to take us to retest the break and then flush back down. However, we was just followed up with more sell. And so this was a huge down day, 9.66% down on this day, which was June 16th. And here, more indecision. Another big down day, which was 7.32%. And we tagged the low of about 17,622. Quickly came back up. Now we're sitting at around 20,100. Moving forward, Bitcoin has been showing us that it consolidates, right? We make these flat base, right? And then most likely it'll just continue to flush to new lows. It's a possibility, right? I'm not sure how big of a possibility that Bitcoin again make this base, right? And then we break from out of here, retest this level of about 30,000, right? It's possible, but I'm not totally convinced. So if we lose this $20,000, we're going to come back here to 17,622, and then from that level, I'm looking at here 16,100 Bitcoin. All right, back to the topic of inflation. And so the recent news came out, more and more inflation is on the way, right? It's going to only get worse before things get better. And so we're seeing the highest inflation since the 80s. And so you're probably thinking we've been here before. But the difference between then and now is that we're sitting on an insurmountable amount of debt, over 30 trillion. Interest on that debt is already unsustainable. But if you're talking about interest rates or inflation hitting 4, 5, 6, 7%, right? We could see a situation where the interest on our existing debt is more than the income tax revenue that the government receives, which would be horrific, right? That would be absolutely terrible. So how do we get to this point? And all it is spending more than what we actually make, right? And then living on credit. And if you ever try to live on credit, I have. If you mismanage it, even by a little bit, it can come back and it can really, really bite you in the butt. But let me walk you through these staggering numbers. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. These are the countries with the highest rates of inflation. Venezuela right at the top at over 200,000% in inflation. And so as I walk you through this, you can start to see the reason why a lot of these nations and these countries are adopting Bitcoin as legal tender and choosing to opt in for Bitcoin and cryptos over transacting in their own currency, because it's basically dead, right? When you're talking about 100,000%, over 100%, you see Zimbabwe, South Sudan, Argentina, Iran, Liberia, many countries are feeling it, right? And so when you're talking about such high inflation, they have no value in their currency. So they have to seek out an alternative. And because Bitcoin is a deflationary asset, and what that means is that over time, your purchasing power increase versus decreasing like the current monetary supply. So you can see here it says where inflation is highs and lows across 44 countries. You have Turkey hitting 54.8% annual inflation rate since just the first quarter of 2002. A lot of these regions are at a 10.1% to 14.9% inflation. Then you have a lot here at the 5.1 to 7.4% inflation. So you can see that this is not only an American problem, but this is globally. Here The US inflation rate has almost quadrupled over the past 2 years, but in many other countries, it's risen even faster. Right at the top, we have at 25x Israel. That's just only in the first quarter of 2020. The United States is here almost at that 5x rate, and that's again since the first quarter of 2020. Let's take it a little bit further here in America. So this is a chart that shows the distribution of the $96.1 trillion in American wealth. And the wealth gap here is absolutely staggering, right? Absolutely astounding. And you have here the top 10% of families own 76% of the wealth in America, which was 12.9 million families, right? The next 40% own 22% of the wealth in America, which was 51.5 million families. And then you have here the bottom 50% own just 1% of the wealth, which was 64.3 million families. And 13.4 million families in this group had negative net worth. That's actually more, right? More negative net worth than the top 10% who actually own 76% of the wealth, right? The wealth gap is incredibly large in America. It's only increasing, and when you add on inflation, the cost of gas, the cost of groceries, right, and especially here in this bottom 50%, most likely they're living paycheck to paycheck, lower income, not enough money at the end of that check to save, and so they're really feeling they're really being squeezed. Now, I want to say this: there's reasons behind this, right, and we won't get into it here. There's different topics for different times. However, the bottom 50%, they don't have to stay there, right? They do not have to stay there, right? What I would suggest is information. You want to dig in, learn about money, right? Learn how to invest, learn how to create businesses, right? And that'll give you cash flow so that it'll put you ahead. Subscribe to Brothers in Bitcoin, right? This is what we talk about. We talk about business, we talk about trading, we talk about crypto and income, because ultimately this is the way for you to get ahead and stay ahead. And especially in an inflation crisis like this, you want to have multiple income so that way you can continue to save and invest, right? That's the only way for you to get ahead. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about. And so let me know. I want to hear from you. Is this staggering or what? Like, comment, subscribe. Till the next time, I'm Tim Ford, out.